Hi, this is Ayanti Ganordano with BUDDHASPORT.com. I'm here today with Tom Manelski, who is a black belt under Bill Scott of BJJ Shore Academy. He almost always does the Grappler's Quest events, ton of no-gi, must have. I think Bill told me like 30 belts to his name, so we're going to talk to him a little bit about his grappling career. How are you today?
Very good. Thanks for interviewing us here at BJJ Shore Academy.
No problem. So tell us a little bit about how you first started getting involved in jiu-jitsu.
Well, as a kid, I wrestled, through high school, and then, I used to race motorcycles, and I was weightlifting, and then I kind of got bored, and, I started watching some of the UFCs, and like a lot of people did, and coincidentally, a couple miles from my house, somebody opened up a dojo. Josh Madama opened up a jiu-jitsu place, so I went there for a couple months, and then, I got introduced to Bill, and I started training with Bill back in 2006.
2006, okay. And you're a black belt, correct?
Yes.
So when did you get your black belt?
2 Februarys ago, February of 2011.
February 2011, all right.
Oh, no, 2012, I'm sorry.
2012. Okay, so did you know that you wanted to compete when you first started training, or did that sort of come later on?
Well, I'm very competitive, so as soon as I started training in in January, and I did a tournament in February, and then I happen to have success at it, so I continued to do it. I enjoy competition, and it's fun for me.
Now, for me, it's almost strange to see you in a gi because I've seen you do mainly no-gi in Grappler's Quest, and I believe you've done some IBJJF no-gi events and done pretty well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've done the IBJJF, the no-gi pans. It's in New York, so it's relatively close. I won as a purple belt. Got disqualified because they have their own set of rules. And then another time, I think they discriminate against the Caucasian wrestler a little bit, and they favor the Brazilian. So, but whatever. I've done a few of them.
Okay, so tell us what it's like, going into the Grappler's Quest no-gi advanced absolute, because you have guys who come in from all styles, wrestlers, sambo, judo, and you're a guy who does jiu-jitsu and heavy wrestling. So how do you adapt to all those different styles?
Well, I competed 180 to 189. I've been doing that for a long time. I just maybe 2 years ago I started doing the absolute. I was a little apprehensive with doing the absolute because, like you mentioned, you could be going against a 250-pound guy. But then, at the end of the day, as everyone knows, typically the people between 170 and 200 pounds are the people that tend to be the most athletic and win the most. So how do I adapt? I just do the same thing. Typically, the larger guys are less athletic, they're slower, so they're actually easier, by and large. Some of the smaller guys tend to be very flexible, and they tend to be a little bit more challenging. But I won it 3 times last year, so I do it right.
Awesome. So since you compete a lot in no-gi, is that what you mainly train in? Do you prefer no-gi to the gi because you're a wrestler?
Well, to be honest with you, when I go to the Grappler's Quest or the Nagas, they do gi first.
Okay.
And everyone that's gone to a Naga or Grappler's Quest, there's times that you sit there for hours on end. So by the time, you get impatient and restless, and then you do your no-gi, who wants to sit around another couple hours for the gi? I train in the gi more than I do no-gi.
And you find that it crosses over pretty well, your gi to your no-gi game?
Yeah, I think the gi is funner. You have more options. You have a lot of handles. So, I like training gi. I haven't, when I was a white belt, a blue belt, and a purple belt, I competed in the gi. And, I did well. I didn't lose as a white, blue, or purple belt. And then I did the Abu Dhabi trials in a gi as a brown belt, as a brown black in 2011. And I didn't win. Again, another Brazilian, and the way I looked at it was a little discrimination with the scoring, but whatever. So I didn't. That was the last time I competed.
Okay. So you have a full-time job, correct? Like jiu-jitsu is not your job.
No, I mean, I have a career, and I train on average 3 days a week. I typically come here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday and Thursday I train in the gi. Wednesday we have no gi. So typically 3 times a week. Now I'm competing, so the last 3 weeks I've been coming here 4 days a week.
How do you manage to balance? Because a lot of these guys, are training, like some of the guys you've even gone against train, like that's their job, to train.
Right.
So how do you balance, like, working and training and making sure that 3 to 4 days that training is good enough to make you place?
Well, and I have, like you mentioned, most of these people do it for a living, and I've read stuff on them, they're training twice a day, every day. I mean, good for them. If you have the time and you can do it, knock yourself out. I mean, I do it 3 days a week. I also go to the gym and lift weights. I do that 5 days a week because, it's closer and convenient. But I find I still enjoy it. I still have fun. If you get to the point where you train and, some of these people train 10 times a week, it almost feels like a job, and you might lose a little bit of drive, or your heart may not be into it. Maybe that's not the case with them. But, to address your question, I guess I'm pretty athletic, and as long as my conditioning is not bad, it's tough to beat that.
I think it's a really interesting point where, like, maybe a lot of these guys who are training all the time, it is like a job, and a lot of times, like, the mental part of the game is just as big as, being in shape and getting your reps in and live rolling. So that might be a big factor in why you've been doing so well. Now, what do you think has been if you can pick one, your toughest match at a Grappler's Quest event, like the no-gi?
Typically when I'm a wrestler initially, and I do jiu-jitsu obviously. I'm black belt jiu-jitsu. So typically, if I go against a primarily a jiu-jitsu guy, I beat him by wrestling. If I go against a wrestler, I beat him by jiu-jitsu. So the guy Rustam I went against, I lost to him twice. He was a better wrestler than me, and he's difficult to catch in anything. So it's been a while since I've gone against him, but he's probably toughest guy I've gone against.
Now, what would you say your game is like? I know you just said that against a jiu-jitsu guy, you're more likely to be wrestling, and against a wrestler, you're more likely to be jiu-jitsu. But do you have any moves that you consistently hit, or like a sequence that you like to go through?
Well, I'd say at least maybe 75% of the time when I go out there, whoever I'm going against, they immediately sit guard. So they'll touch me and sit on their ass. So I have no choice but to play top game, which is fine. I try and pass their guard, and then once I'm inside control, there's a lot of submissions you can go after, and I've finished fights with now the higher the level, the more challenging it is to submit them with upper body submissions. So I've been submitting people with Achilles, toe hold, or different type of heel hooks, different type of leg lock.
And let's see, has Bill always been your teacher?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned initially, when I first started, there was a school a mile and a half from my house, so I initially started going there. And at the time, the instructor was a purple belt, so everyone else was a white belt. So it was hard for me to train with anyone because they weren't very challenging. But so I was with him for about 6 months. He was a good instructor. I liked him, and Bill happened to come by. Coincidentally, he moved to a school maybe a mile and a half away from him, so that as well was close to my house. And there were more seasoned, grapplers there, and you had a lot of purples, browns, and Bill was actually still a brown belt at the time.
And it seems like there's probably a couple times I've been here at least, there are probably a lot of guys your age and size here. Is that correct?
My age and size?
Yeah, like, in like people who you can effectively be competitive, who are good training partners.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that go here. We have a lot of brown belts now. I think like a dozen black belts. Plenty of purple belts. So it's there's a lot of different guys, a lot of different styles. Nobody here really competes. So it's not like other schools where you got high-level world champions training against other champions. So that's a little bit of a disadvantage. But there's a lot of different guys with a lot of different styles. So it's it remains fun. And I get decent training out of it.
So you said you're the main guy. You're one of the few guys here that competes, right?
Right.
Okay. So let's see. what do you think has kept it fun for you? You know, all these years, apart from keeping the training to 3 to 4 days a
winning.
week.
I'm a sore loser, so if I ended up losing a lot, it'd be difficult for me to want to come back. But it's fun. The conditioning is second to none. And a lot of people, tend to have stress in life about something else, one thing or another. And this is the only place you can go where everything else is blocked out. You don't think about anything else. Obviously, if someone's trying to choke you or break your arm, you try to protect yourself so you're not thinking about outside variables that may be distracting otherwise.
What do you think was the worst loss you ever had, the one that hit you the hardest in competition, if there is one?
Well, no loss is fun. Let's see. The worst loss. I mean, I haven't been.
But maybe to rephrase it, like the toughest.
I was never beat. If I did lose, it was by an advantage or maybe a takedown. So there hasn't been a point where I lost where I got submitted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been submitted before, but not as maybe as a beginner or intermediate. But I haven't been submitted, so none of them were really bad. They're all, there's actually, I'll tell you what I found to be maybe my worst loss in the Pan Ams as a brown belt. I was, I took him down, then he gave me a takedown because they said he sat guard, but I initiated forward motion. I took him down. Anyway, I passed his guard. I was past his guard for 13 seconds. He was floundering, and they didn't give me the 3 points. Okay, I should have gotten the takedown. I should have gotten the guard pass, and he ended up winning by an advantage. So that was frustrating. It was the IBJJF, and the first time I went there, I got disqualified, beating the guy 10-0, and they said I did an illegal cervical neck crank from side control, whatever. And then I go here, and they're not giving me points. So I kept telling myself I'm not going back to any IBJJF competition. I very well may, but that was probably frustrating because I really thought I deserved winning the brown belt Pan Ams at the time.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty tough. I mean, it's been a common complaint, especially recently, about refs, whether they're favoring people or they don't know the rules. Like, especially for not that it's not bad for you, but like for guys who are dedicating their lives to something like this, to be robbed on something like points, and then you have to wait another year, before you can avenge something like that.
Exactly.
So, is there anything else you want to tell us about like grappling or balancing or what your journey's been like?
Well, I just recommend everyone keep active in whatever you do. Unfortunately, I'm 39. I'll be 40 in less than 2 months, and I've just been active my whole life. So at no time have I felt like I've aged where I'm getting weaker, slower, or less athletic. So as long as you keep it up, you can continue to stay young.
Well, thanks a lot for talking to me today. I think you could be like a really big inspiration for the guys who are a little bit older and still competing and maybe can't make it, like you said, 7 days a week, twice a day, but can still do really well in competition. So thanks for talking with me today, and this will be on the site as soon as possible.
All right, thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah.